But good to know, we can do it from wherever.
We're live now, by the way. I don't see you now. Where are you? I've lost you. Oh, perfect. There you are.
Yay!
We did it.
Hi, love.
Hi, honey. So, I don't know if you went on Facebook, but I promoted this on Facebook
Shut up.
and Twitter.
You did.
I did. It's pretty funny. You'll have to go back and see it. It's hilarious.
Fantastic.
there-
No wonder we have no, sorry, I just got back from my boot camp, so I'm kind of grungy.
Good. It's good. No, it was funny because I was having this moment where I was going, okay, maybe we shouldn't do this. We're not ready. And so I went on and I was like, I made a post because I was learning how it works and you can share
Yeah.
the thing. So I did, I shared it. And I said, the reason I made the joke about the pants is I said, we might not be wearing pants. And then I said, no, well, Cherie might not be wearing pants. So anyone that knows you would know.
That's why we have no viewers today. I'm not sure I liked her with pants. Pretty sure without pants does not make this better.
Well, it made me happy to do it. It was pretty funny. So, did you like the title?
Yeah, I love it actually.
Pretty good. So, I went from 30 minutes, and then I said an hour, and then I went back to 30 minutes. So, we have 25 minutes because we've been fooling around for 5 minutes, which I think is fine. But
Now, I probably shouldn't, we shouldn't be discussing technical
I
features.
think we can talk about whatever. Go ahead. What?
Are they going to join the conversation? Or are they just watching?
Well, right now no one's watching. But if they decide to watch, I would have to accept them as a. I didn't invite anyone else but you, but it's a public broadcast.
Okay.
So anyone can watch, but only you can be on the screen in your little bubble.
Fantastic. That's just how I like it.
But there is an app on the side, or I don't know, a function where I can turn Q&A on.
Oh.
So watch.
Questions at the end, maybe.
Yeah, so I think I just turned it on. I don't know if I want it on. Okay, no, I don't know. Maybe I turned it off. So anyway, at the end, yeah, I thought, if we get people that are watching at some point. So, I don't know. Did you ever watch that video?
Okay, so this is what I watched. I watched the video of Christiane Northrup and her daughter on her daughter's blog podcast little thing. Then I watched a couple little excerpts, like little previews of the PBS special. So I wasn't sure exactly what you watched, but I think I have the gist of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I didn't even watch the PBS special bits yet. I just watched that video.
That she and her daughter made?
Yeah. Exactly. And so I don't know if you need to recap what you originally said to me when I suggested the topic of agelessness.
Well, so here's the thing, and I stand by some of it. And she's a funny one because I find myself irritated by her, but then I hear things that she says and I think, oh, yeah, that's basically how I feel about that subject. And so I don't know what it is, I don't know, we just must not, communicate in the same way. So there's something about the way she communicates that doesn't vibe with me, although when I try and get free of that, for the most part, I'm right on board with everything she says, right? Um, I do stand by the fact that maybe she hasn't had work, but the PBS special, she is taut. And more so than in her video with her daughter, you can see little lines. I don't have a problem with that, but in the special, it's like, oh, ageless beauty, or whatever bullshit, and your face doesn't move. Like, come on. And at least be honest about it. And if you're telling me all your yoga and clean eating, it just detox those wrinkles right off your face, fine, but I don't buy it. And not that all the premise that she's selling is fine, and that's why it's like, oh, why'd you have to go and Botox your face or Photoshop all those wrinkles off? I mean, you're kind of disingenuous, right? So I'm trying to give her a pass on that because while I would never do Botox, I probably would find some way to tighten. Like, if you're going on TV, I get it. You want to look your best just for posterity's sake, I suppose. But I don't know.
Do you want to know what I did tonight?
Botox.
Home Botox.
Are you making it in the compost? The new lifestyle vlog. Everything my well-to-do New York life had for me, now homemade.
On the farm.
That's right, on the farm, including making Botox in a cow's stomach.
No, I washed my hair, which...
Dude, it looks like Cherie Red. What?
I think it's
the lighting.
Because right now it's because South America is shining on my face and it's
The globe. It's orange. Skip it past one glow.
But when I was drying my hair, I did something and then it's like, oh, I can't turn my head to the side. So apparently getting cleaned up to do this was
deep relief.
I know I do. I need to get it.
I bathed in it before I started because welcome to Off Topic. Boot camp had sledgehammer work today, so I feel like all these muscles in here from swinging a sledgehammer.
You swing an actual sledgehammer?
Yeah, on a giant tractor tire.
That's awesome.
You do it as many as you can in 2 minutes, and then you switch hands. Which there's this weird moment where we all thought we might be left-handed but it's because I think you actually drive with the bottom hand.
Sure.
And when you're doing the right side, your right hand just overcompensates, right? So I don't know. It was actually quite enjoyable because I had a crud day, so I might get my own sledgehammer.
And your own tractor tire?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
The Capricorn moon in me was like, this is really not productive. There really should be some wood involved. I get this is really first world exercise because you're doing all this effort and you don't have any chopped wood or carried water or anything that actually, it felt oddly productive and unproductive all at the same time, so it's kind of a mind trip. But, all right, back to ageless goddess beauty.
Well, it's funny because I thought of our topic when that happened to my neck because it's one of those things where it's like, oh, God, I'm getting old. And then I was like, no, no, you just need to wash your hair more. You're out of shape with the hair wash.
That's right, this motion.
So the fact that I can't wash my hair and you're sledgehamming tractor tires says something about ageless.
Well, so that's an interesting point though, because a while back now, my dad recognized that he was like groaning whenever he got up or something, and he decided that's what old people do, and he was not going to do that and then I found myself doing it recently. I thought, oh shit, I gotta stop. Like, we can't be every time you get up, like, even if you just ran 10 miles, you can't do that because it just reinforces that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm achy, I'm old, I feel 40, whatever mindset. So that's one thing I've been trying along those lines of not embracing what life tells you, or society or whatever meme
Mm-hmm.
tells you.
Yes. So let me ask you, when we talked the other day about that concept, when I just threw the idea out to you,
Mm-hmm.
and then after watching the video, was there anything that you felt differently about or you thought about in terms of the idea of living from a place of agelessness that is relevant to you personally?
Well, one of the things they talked about was the idea that, I think Kate said it, that she started forgetting how old she was. And there was a very long period of time where I couldn't tell you how old I was. And like from 23 to 30. And when I hit 30, and they talked about my milestones and how that becomes a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of, that sunk in, but then within a year or two, I couldn't tell you how old I was again. So I think I actually do a pretty good job of that, of kind of not absorbing in any age, like the age. But what struck me was, like when I was 8 years old, or 8 to 10, right in that age, I really wanted to be 30 or 35. I just thought that is gonna be the best age. Uh, which was about the age my parents were, right? Like at the time. Um, and I just felt like most of these adults don't know shit. I know more about life, at least if not from a logistic standpoint, from a metaphysical standpoint, than any of these monkeys will ever figure out. And no one will take me seriously. I just can't wait till I'm 30, right? Like that was, I just felt like when I'm 30, people will take me seriously. And I'm 40 and I still have to defend myself in meetings. Like, are you serious? Like, I get that this whole age thing is, I think we run into it all the time. Now, I'm sure you did when you were in New York and had to deal with more of that corporate setting. I guess I find it in the corporate setting a little bit more.
Oh, sure. No, I had huge challenges.
Well, and you especially look young too. That
Right. I mean,
younger.
I don't look 65 at all.
Right.
Um,
Never know.
you never know. As long as I just hold my face like this.
Oh.
No, actually, I have the similar experience too. When I was small, I wanted to be older. I always wanted to be older. And for what struck me in that video when she says, stop telling people how old you are, it hit me because I feel like I'm always, even unnecessarily, telling people how old I am.
Mm.
As a way to justify, validate, exactly. Because like people will say you look 25 or you look 28, and and then I'll say, well, I've been teaching yoga for 15 years, or and so I get those.
Yeah, I have that look because I work with Brian now, and he's 32, and I say unfortunately for him, but fortunately for me, I'm just going to reframe it. They ask on a regular basis people that we meet which one's older, which always makes me laugh.
That's great.
Yeah, thank you. Exactly.
That's awesome. But when I was in New York and working in production, I got a lot of disrespect, partly because I was a woman and partly because I looked young. And I think that might have been where it grew from. It was just like, you need to take me seriously. I'm whatever age. And now, um, what I came to after watching, and I actually watched the video twice. I went back after we talked and I watched it again. It's just where is it, not so much that I'm claiming an age, but where is the need to claim an age to other people coming from, and how to become aware of that so that I can figure out what the root is of why I'm doing it. Because I think it's kind of comes back to that idea that I don't need to convince other people that I'm right in my life choices.
Yeah, so I was just, while you were saying that, I was thinking, you know what, I've probably stopped doing it so much because I just don't care what they think anymore. Like, take it or leave it. I know I've got valid opinions and they're worth paying for, and either you're vibing on me and think it's good, or you don't, and I just don't care. Like, I'm not going to sit and justify myself, because if really the fact that my age, or even who I've worked for, or if that really is going to be what makes you trust me with your business or your fill in the blank, I don't know, you're probably not making these decisions on a very mindful level, and I'm not sure I want to work with you.
Yeah, no, that's good. I think that's a journey I'm moving towards. I'm just not. I wasn't as aware of doing it before, or I hadn't thought about it. One of the things I thought about after we talked was just this. I think it came up when we were talking before, that I was looking at my post-it that I had written, which is back. But practice, it's a practice and not an outcome. That these things, just like even yoga or mindfulness, meditation, we're not practicing it. There might be outcomes that change.
Yeah.
But it's really about the practice, and part of that is developing self-awareness. And for me, kind of becoming aware and then recognizing really how much I do that, how I'm so quick to, even if someone says, "Oh, you look young," it's like, "Oh, well, I'm 40. I'm not going to say." Right? But so I don't know. It was interesting to me, this whole discussion, because the reason I picked that title of Agelessness in the Age of Ageism is there's some absurdity to it, right? Because if we go by your, I don't really care what other people think, and really own that, then it's okay if I'm 40. But I think what I was getting from Christiane Northrup's talk, and what I don't know enough about that I'm interested in, is the biology behind it, and actually the maybe the underlying or more subtle ramifications for trying to own your age. Like, I'm 40. Like, what does that mean? What does 40 mean if not within the constructs of what society says 40 means?
Right.
It's meaningless.
Yeah. And I guess there's two parts. And that one is, I'm 40, and this is what my 40 looks like, and I really don't care what your ideas are, or society's plans are for someone who's 40. That's one approach, and that's probably the approach I had been taking. What she opened or reminded me of, really, was that that I've also got my own ideas of what 40 is, and am I settling into ideas that in some cases were ideas of what 40 was that were formed when I was 7, or when I was 10, or when I was 20, for that matter, right? And so that's its own trap, and maybe even more powerful than whatever society says. Because I mean, well, at least you and I probably don't have as much of a problem with giving a rip about what society says. I'm sure that's a hurdle for some people, but as we all know, or we both know, that the biggest obstacles are the ones we've created for ourselves, right, in our own brain. And so that made me want to re-examine, okay, what am I using my age for an excuse for? Like, what am I don't know. Like, I catch myself when I'm working out thinking, what do you expect? You're 40. You're working out with a bunch of college kids. You don't have to do it as well as they do. And then, of course, the ego in me is like, well, fuck that. That's ridiculous. Like, I can do whatever I want, right? Because that's how I was raised. You limitless. No, just do whatever. You can dream it. You can visualize it. You can achieve it. Do it. So that's kind of a regular ping pong game, and every time I catch myself, whether it's getting up from the couch and feeling achy, or in the gym not feeling like, my competitive streak coming out. But I think it's a good question. Like, what else am I have some ideas of, oh, I want a relationship, I still want kids, blah, blah, blah. I consciously keep those doors open, right? Because it's very easy to buy into the societal, oh, no one gets married after they're 35, or no one has kids after they're 35, or it's all a hassle, and it's just, next to impossible miracle. Well, I believe in miracles, but I also believe that you can buy into that, or you can choose not to. There's plenty of examples. Our family it's a perfect, your mom, Aunt Mary, and we got plenty of family references to people who had kids over 40. So.
Mm-hmm. No, and I think that what you and I have talked about a lot at length over the years is just how much those tapes, or you call them tapes, but like the patterns of thinking that we have, really does limit things we do. Like, I've been one of the things I've been wanting to do more of is dance. And I've used that excuse that I'm too old, I think, subconsciously. Like, I haven't owned it publicly. I've been like, oh, I can do anything I want, but then I don't do it. So why am I not doing it when it's something I love? And I believe it's actually because that somewhere in my mind I've set this, kind of limited perception of what to dance is, and my ankle that was broken has problems, and I can't do what I could do when I was 20. I can't train that way because of some specific limitations, but so I just don't train at all. That's not a good solution,
Right, which gets to that, they talked about perfectionism getting in the way.
That was a great quote, yeah.
It was, and I don't remember the quote exactly, but it's perfectionism is an excuse for not doing something.
Right.
And you make the point beautifully, right? Like, because the part of you that wants to dance, the dream was, yes, dancing. That's where the root is, joyful and lovely. But then the dream of that 18-year-old extended out to on a stage in front of people, having a symbiotic experience where you're moving them and, sharing that moment. And that feels like that's unattainable. But even that, you kind of go, well, but why, right? Like, I don't know where that opportunity is, but just because we can't conceive of it doesn't mean it couldn't show up tomorrow.
Right. No, and there was a great video that passed my awareness. It was actually Elizabeth Gilbert posted something today of I can't remember the woman's name now. She's a dancer who's turning 100.
Okay.
And she was talking about, I'll have to share it with you, but she was talking about how she doesn't dance the way she did but the way she dances now is exactly what it needs to be. And it's very, you know, kind of gestural, and they show her on the kind of ocean shore. It's really kind of cute little video, but yeah, it's not a good excuse. It's a bullshit excuse, actually. To say that I'm too old to do it is just crap. So but like that's why I was so excited about this topic, because I just was like, wow, okay, there's another thing that I can't keep saying. What else is there? You know, I'm sure there's more. There's so much more, and it's like all of those little things that we tell ourselves that we can't do that we love to do. It's just so abusive, self-abusive.
Well, that makes me think it like now I have to go through and examine what do I have any? Maybe you know. Have I been using that as an excuse for anything?
I don't know. I guess, you know, I think that we...
my permission to call me out on the internet.
Well, here's one thing. This is something that I've been thinking about, too, is taking safe jobs. Safe.
Oh.
The safe job.
That's right.
Because I'm at an age when I need to be responsible.
Start thinking about retirement or like, yeah.
Doing something that you hate because it feels safer.
Okay, I'll look at that.
You said I could. But it is true, though. I think that we all do it, and I think that's why it's such an interesting topic, because it'd be easy to say, oh, I don't do that. I'm ageless. I'm not living in these constraints. And then, you know, if we really stop and pay attention and slow down and not make it about, you know, self-judgment, but just of, like, honest taking a look, and then when we find these things going, wow, I don't need to do that anymore, or I need to unpeel that. I think that's the part that's healing. That's the part that's healing. And I think in a way the process, going back to it's not an outcome, it's a process, that's where the process is healing. It's like you're shedding all this weighted stress and anxiety about these things that we have created as limits, and then we don't feel so weighted down anymore. It seems to be that that's a good thing.
Yeah, right.
You know? And I also was remarking, you know, when I saw that video, I just wanted to share it with a bunch of women, including my own mother, who I thought might. We have one viewer. I don't know if it's you or if it's somebody else. Maybe it's my mother. But just how, you know, I think
the woman dancing on the beach or the Christiane Northrup video.
The Christiane Northrup video.
Okay.
But just the idea that we have more control than we realize over our own biology.
Yes. Well, amen, sister. You know, I've been preaching that for some time. But it's trippy, right? Like, we've got the control. We have infinite control over our biology. We also have a whole lot of, you know, monkeys up there that are constantly fighting us for control. So that's the biggest challenge, right? Like, that's yeah.
But that's the work I found, is that and it was funny, I was just earlier, I watched a TED Talk. I need to start writing these names of things down. But it was
why?
Because I want to share it with you.
Oh, okay. Not because you're getting old.
Because I'm so old and I can't remember anything.
My trick for remembering here is every time you actually remember something is to say thank you. So when I need to bring something to work or whatever, I put something down and need to remember where I put it. When I actually remember where I put it and successfully recall it, I say thank you to my subby. And it seems to build. So just a little
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. He was talking about getting still. He's a travel writer, and he was talking about getting still as kind of the antidote to all the chaos, all the movement, all the stimulation. And I watched it. Was actually, just reminded me how much I appreciate stillness and silence.
Mm.
Why I enjoy Montana and being out in the mountains, because it's not just that it's actual spaciousness and stillness, but there's no people, so there's no mental, energetic, spatial noise. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Right.
it's like I'm the only one within 5 miles of where I sit except for animals. It's different. And why did I bring this up? Oh, because I had watched something a little bit earlier. Somebody had written a question in on one of the boards that I'm on for yoga and mindfulness.
Okay.
What to do when when your mind won't let you meditate. And I was like, well, that's the whole point. It just made me laugh because I was like, well, that's hilarious.
Are we having trouble with the definition of mind or meditate? Like what?
But it made me laugh because I think our expectations of perfection, to come back to that earlier quote, the expectation that if I meditate, that means that I'll have a quiet mind because the intention is to still the fluctuations of the mind, is such a confusion.
Some forms of meditation, right? Like in some of my most amazing meditations, you are communing with source and hear voice, like you can hear, it's like you're having the most beautiful conversation you've ever had. So yeah, if you want to achieve Zen emptiness, then that's a different issue, and that's not necessarily meditation. Like it's its own meditation, but it's not what the definition of meditation is. I mean, that's just.
But it got me thinking about how much we do absorb all of these concepts and these ideas, and then our mind, as you were saying earlier, the control we have over our biology and how that's related to the functioning of our own minds. It really, I feel I've experienced that for me, it's really all about the mind, in that I can access changes in the mind through the body. I can do things with my body in order to access the mind, or do things with the breath to access the mind and make changes. But even self-awareness in and of itself, the awareness of self is a mind act. Right? I mean,
yeah, TM. I've never heard mind act, so you might want to trademark that. That's for future use.
Yeah, should I write that down on one of my posties?
Yeah.
What did I say?
we'll watch the recording and figure it out.
Oh, so anyway, yeah. Well, we've surpassed our half hour. Do you want to keep going? Do you want to keep talking?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you had to go anywhere.
I mean, my pot pie will be done in about 10 minutes, so.
You can always go get it.
Exactly.
I don't mind. So I wanted to share this story because I think it's relevant and something I don't know if I've talked to you about, but it's something that I've seen from working with people, doing private yoga work with people, and just how much when we get still and connected, where we're integrated as body, mind, spirit, even for moments, like just little moments, there's a sense of agelessness that's actually palpable, visible and palpable. I've seen it in people. And they'll be moving, doing things, and there's this kind of just subtle discombobulation, or thinking, like the mind's thinking, what am I doing, and there's figuring it out, and then there'll be just an
alignment.
And then and I've seen it, and I felt it in myself, but I've also seen it in other people. And I've worked with a lot of women that are as old as 80. And so to see someone who's 65 years old, 70 years old doing something, and then it's like you can see their childlike self is a really, really interesting. And And so then, it just reminds me of how much we have that power to live from that place. It's just not where we usually sit.
Right. And I think it's because joy's uncomfortable.
You should tweet that too.
That a tweetable.
A tweetable. Joy is uncomfortable. Well, explain. Help me understand.
I'm not sure, but that's what just kept coming to mind when you were speaking. Like, because why can't you hold that? Once you find it, why can't you hold it, right? And there's the whole philosophical, well, you don't know joy unless you know pain, blah, blah, blah. Positive, negative, you need both. Blah, 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 right? Yes, and, well, the whole point is to align with source and find that pure joy and pure happiness and pure love, and then the wrinkles do go away because there's no consternation, that there's no consternation, you're in that pure acceptance. Ageless, sure, absolutely, but then it's easier to be grumpy. I don't know. I don't know. Why don't any of us hold on to that joy? Why is it easier to just go back to being irritated by fill in the blank?
Well, so here's a challenge, and I'm willing to take it on, but I think it'd be interesting if you wanted to do it with me. And I read about it today, which is don't complain for a whole month. No complaining.
What exactly is complaining?
So,
what if I gloriously appreciate the shit show of someone else in my way? Is that complaining?
I think it's okay to ask for what you need. So if something is needing
beautiful. It moves me to a place I've never seen before. It reminds me that perfection, even on the negative side, is available to all of us. Would that be complaining?
No.
If I could get to that pure joy of truly appreciating them and not just being a sarcastic, snarky.
Yeah. Well, I'm not here to judge. When I heard it, I thought, wow, because I feel like I don't complain a lot. I feel like I look at situations, practice gratitude, think about what I have, focus on the moment a lot. Yeah. Certainly a lot more than I did 20 years ago.
You do. And I feel like I've tried to complain less, so here's my struggle, right? I've tried to complain less because I'm so critically aware of how I've created all that crap. So if I'm complaining about something, I attracted it, made it, whatever. Really highly aware of that. I also feel like I'm a natural critic, and so my default position is just to shred everything in my way, no matter what. Here's the most gorgeously arranged fill in the blank. Yeah, but did you notice this tiny little piece, that little leaf over here is the wrong color green? That's really, if they're going for perfect, they missed it, right? That just, and maybe that's why I have such an issue with joy.
So when you said earlier that
you cannot stay in the same place, right? And I'm so good at the criticizing. And
well, can you be? So here's a question. This is a good question, because we could be discerning, right?
Well, my friends like to call me that. Oh, there's nothing wrong with that, Cherie. You're just discerning. You just love me. I know. I like to put a nice fancy name on it as well. It sounds so elevated and expansive. Like, yeah. No, I'm cool with everything. I just am super discerning about what I take into my space. You're not one of them. Yeah. I mean, you're one of them, but
Thanks.
whoever our other viewer is, not. Oh, wait, that's not nice. I don't even know. We don't even know if they're real.
I know, it could be an accident.
Getting rid of our one, maybe fake viewer. That's probably not nice.
Well, you could test it by just keep talking nasty to him and see if it goes back to 0. So here's why I brought up the complaining, because I was looking at this idea of this agelessness and not having those limits, and in my own life realizing that some of the limits that I've put on myself for certain things, like, I mentioned dance as an example. Let's use that one. So even though it's not complaining out to other people, in my own mind I'm sort of complaining about the fact that my ankle is sore. I'm looking at these things and kind of spending energy focusing on something that maybe I can change. Like, maybe what my ankle needs to heal is other movement that I'm not doing. And that was one of the things that Christiane Northrup mentioned in that interview, was just how it's not just changing the idea, but it's also then changing the habits of life. And that's what will create the change of body, the change of experience of the life. And that's where some of that agelessness comes in. And so then when I saw that challenge to go 30 days without complaining, it'll take the wrinkles away, because I think that kind of worry and, this sort of state is part of it. But I think also, it forces us through practice to just become aware of what we talk to ourselves about.
Yeah. Well, because that 30 days, I can go 30 days and not complain out. Well, I can do anything for 30 days,
Yeah.
It's that 31st day that's a real bitch. But I think it would be just as much of a challenge to recognize when you're complaining in your head.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, the conversations that are going on in here, there's like 3 at any given time. For sure, 2 of them are complaining or irritated with criticizing something. So just because I'm not verbally complaining, turning off the complaint switch at the source, I think, is the challenge, right? Because sure, I don't like talking to people anyway. I can keep my comments to myself. That's not difficult.
Right.
But they just then, it doesn't mean I'm not running the tape and like, oh, here's the chat show in my head where I tell you what a big fat idiot you are. Well, that's still going on, and then that's still going to affect this line here, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, actually, I think more so, right? In terms of more.
Does it ever get turned off? I mean, sometimes sometimes you just need to bitch and get it out of your system if it's truly going to be a release, and it's a release, but then we go on and talk about it for 3 months, right? If you just need to get it out, that's one thing, so that it's not over and over and over and over. I can't believe that person treated me this way, blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those are probably more dangerous.
Because I think that, why did I come to that? Because when I was looking at the self-awareness practice and trying to think of what some of the practices are, like things to do, excuse me, that, in this concept of, or discussion of agelessness, and recognizing that we live in a society that's going to continue to be based in a high level of ageism until more people decide not to.
Until there's some sort of tipping point, should there be.
So, and I mean, I would like to think that it's just you and me that's holding things up, but I'm going to guess it's probably not the case. And so, in the meantime,
at some point it is. Like once we get there, everything else falls away, and it really is just mirroring our own thing, right?
people say that.
The hologram, man. So once we get it, it all ripples out.
So this
Anyone who doesn't get it won't even be in our awareness.
So are you going to do it with me?
Well, so sure, but so I'm still trying to figure it out. Like, I don't think it's possible. Like it's possible. Like it's possible for me to not verbalize it. I'm really, because I've been doing the I don't care about this. Like reminding myself, oh, this is not something I care about. I'm not going to be upset by it. It doesn't matter in the big scheme of things. I am returning to my place of joy and alignment and like me, right? I had that whole, yeah, I don't give a shit. It's not my problem. It's none of my business. And most of my complaining comes when I'm inserting myself where it's not necessary.
Mm-hmm.
So that's its own challenge. Like, I have to regularly go, oh, shit, that's right, it's not my problem.
Mm-hmm.
None of my business. None of my business. That's really hard. And I can't tell if the complaining comes before the realization that it's none of my business or if the complaining is after the realization of it's none of my business. I have a sneaking suspicion it's before, in which case, since I'm falling down, well, let's reframe. I'm doing my best at the not my business exercise. I mean, I'll give it a shot, but that seems almost impossible.
But so
Well, I know.
here's why I think it's worthwhile.
Damn it!
What?
Damn you! Anything is possible. Mountains can be moved.
No, it's possible. Here's why it's possible. Because it's not an outcome, it's a process. So
Okay.
I'm looking at it as I'm not going to complain in my mind and then, pass judgment on myself and mea culpa myself because I'm, complaining. But when I was listening to you just talking about not knowing which comes first,
Mm-hmm.
it seems to me that this practice for a month of committing to not complaining, whatever that means, because it could mean a number of different things, that practice could lend some insight into some of those internal processes that are causing you to have to take on a practice like not my business. Like it's going deeper.
Okay.
Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe in the end you'll be like, yeah, so I like complaining. I mean, it's hard. Except one of the things I was thinking about was like, I find you a lot of times very funny, and
Not all the time.
no, I love you all the time, but you're not always funny. But can you have comedy without, criticism or at least analysis, right?
Right? Discernment. We like to call it discernment.
Yeah, exactly. So it's an interesting process. It's an interesting practice to add because in terms of, one of the things I was scooping around on the internet and Chris Carr did a little blog on this book and she called out like her 5, and I'm assuming they're reflections of what Christiane Northrup was saying, but reaffirming the term aging was the first one.
Sure.
So basically, seeing the difference between, yeah, we're all going to get chronologically older, but I don't have to be tied to particular associations with an age or with this idea of, buying into that aging means deteriorating.
I think I might have found one.
You found one?
Yeah. Like the whole thyroid weight loss issue feels very, or maybe not very, but a little bit hooked in. Like I might be excusing it because it's been challenging. And then there's a part that's like, yeah, well, what do you expect? You're 40. Like,
Mm.
good fucking luck flipping that switch back, right? But that's retarded, and I don't actually believe that, even though obviously that tape's playing.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot there, right? Because just
Yeah.
how we define how old we are or getting older. I mean, I don't know how often, but I would say at least 10 times since we talked, which was what, 2 or 3 days ago,
Uh-huh.
I've heard from other women who I care about things that they've said that are very either self-deprecating or at least self-limiting that are based in this idea of ageism. So I hear it,
Yeah.
and I'm tuned in.
Yeah. I feel really blessed because my mom rejects all of that. Like I would like her to see the show maybe because it helps gives her this side. People always need this, not everyone, but a lot of people that she comes in contact with need the science of what she's been professing, her whole life, how she raised us, and um, she really lives that pretty well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. Your mom does.
And at the very least catches herself should it, you know, she find herself, slipping into accidentally saying something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that one's definitely, it's a mix between what we hear and pick up from society, but then also what we've carried with us from when we were small.
Right.
I don't have the same influence.
Background.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I definitely have heard it a lot more. And um, the second one she gives is update your beliefs. So change. The way I'm interpreting that is to practice self-awareness, kind of a lot of the discussion that we've been having tonight, where we're actually talking about it, looking at our own thinking,
Hmm.
and then if we're finding, call it beliefs, call it tapes, call it, faulty thinking, whatever it is that's repeating itself,
Yeah.
to just begin to update, like go, okay, that can go, I don't need
Right.
that.
Software upgrade. Yep.
Yeah. And then she puts age proof yourself.
What's that?
Yeah, so I should have probably spent more time reading her blog. But
Why?
should have, right? I'm shitting all over myself. I don't know what that one means. I have to look into that. I mean, I don't know what she was referring to. I guess to me it would be making choices that promote the life that you want. So,
Yeah.
if
If you're
you're
wearing
eating
shoes
crap,
because you think they're sensible, you need to throw them out.
right?
I mean, that's how I see it. Like from a feng shui standpoint, if you are living in a house because it's the appropriate, like it's what you think 35-year-olds live in, and you really would prefer to be in a loft in Manhattan, then you need to move, right? Like, I guess that whether that's what she thinks, if that's what she meant or not, I think that's probably, maybe the most important piece.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I agree. And then stop blaming your health problems on your age.
I already got that one.
You did, but I think we all do it all the time,
Yeah.
And it's such a kind of it goes unnoticed a lot of times. And that's a big one that,
Because all the statistics, I fucking hate statistics. Like, they're just a trap, frankly. Because if you are really living in a limitless existence and are aligned with source and know that anything is possible, statistics are just garbage.
We lost our viewer.
With the statistics comment, like, oh.
I just noticed.
These girls don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, they're crazy. And then the last one was resolve to get younger as you get older.
I think that's a bit of a trap because I would like to release age entirely, not be constantly checking that I'm getting younger, which means you're still aware of your age.
Right. So
I think we reject the last one. That comes from a place of that's like saying I want to think happier thoughts. And the root of that is not happy. The root of that is I think sad thoughts and I want to think happier thoughts. So what you're going to get by a mantra of I want to think happier thoughts is more sad thoughts because it's really energizing the root. And if you want to be ageless, you don't want to focus on getting younger. That's a bit of a trap.
Yeah. We don't have to accept any of them. I just thought it was an interesting take on the same video, basically, that we watched.
Yeah.
You know, like what the takeaways were. And I was thinking back on like kind of what my takeaways were from watching the video, which the first one is practice mindfulness. Because if you're living in the present moment, and you're not focused on the past and you're not worrying about the future or dwelling on the past, worrying about the future, then it's hard to have, I mean, age has to be in reference to some other time.
Right.
So that's a big one for me. And I also have found in my own life that practicing mindfulness kind of blows the sense of time up as well.
Right.
And that's a really beautiful thing.
I was going to say you get the message that we need to practice mindfulness out of every video. Is that
that might be true.
That's like number one for everything. What I got out of this was that really mindfulness is the key. Then we were watching a movie. It's Jurassic Park.
It's Jurassic Park.
I don't know how you got mindfulness out of it, but all right. Like, amen, sister.
It's funny. So do you want to add any to the list besides my obviously very predictable mindfulness?
So there's two approaches, right? Like, we didn't get into this too much, but I think there was that whole study. Oh, they didn't talk about it in her interview with her mother, but they might have alluded to it. The clips from her show, there's a reference to a study that's been done where they took maybe octogenarians and split the group, and one group went and reminisced for 2 weeks, and the other group were put into a simulation where they were the music that played and the TV shows that were available and the any magazines or newspapers were all from when they were at the prime of their life and vibrant and healthy, and after the 2 weeks, the group that was reminded and talking about how vibrant they used to be and kind of stimulated by all of that, kind of their glory days, right? All their health functions, whatever, the resting heart rate, all the different things that they tested were better than the group that just sat and reminisced and reminded themselves that they once were, as opposed to kind of juicing up that sense of who they used to be.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder where the line is, right? Because you don't want to be like this delusional living in the past. One, because it's not, I mean, it was the past, and while I might have had a firmer butt, my mind is so much more expanded. I don't know that I would trade them, although maybe. I mean, it's a fine line. I was pretty self-aware and evolved 20 years ago. Probably more so than most people, so I might be able to trade that. But I don't know. Like, I was trying to think what's the practice, right? Like, those pillars are interesting, but what do I do tomorrow?
Mm-hmm. Right.
To go ageless.
Well, I think mindfulness. I'm just kidding.
Well, present, right? Like your point about getting into that present moment, that is something I will strive for. It's a little trickier than...
The other thing I think is a good practice is the not complaining practice, because I think it opens up the door to hear when we are complaining about things and then relating them to limitations based on age.
Okay.
I mean, there's a lot of other stuff that could come out of it too, but I think there's that possibility.
Okay.
And then paying attention to how often the references are made, both in our own minds and also around us, to what's age appropriate. Just noticing.
Yeah.
Just noticing. Because it's remarkable, I mean, just in the last 3 days, how much I've seen it and heard it.
Well,
and it's been 3 days.
But wouldn't you expect to, once you kind of, it's like seeing the word, reading a word, learning a word for the first time, or you hear it everywhere?
Yeah, I do. I think, because one of the things that she said in that video was, forget how old you are. And that for me seems really hard. Like, I think I know, well, because you've done it, but I swear I always know exactly how old I am.
Oh, you know what helps? I also don't know the year. Like, I can write a check, but if you ask me what year something happened, I don't track that. Like, and I don't know. My dad will tell, in 72 we did this, and 87 it was this. I have to think about what years we were in high school. Like, okay, well, I know I graduated this year, and so it was probably 2 years back. It requires math. Maybe that's help. I don't know. Like, it certainly promotes the timelessness and therefore ageless, because I don't have a reference for, like, I don't hold a hard reference on time. I also don't, like, if your age is reflective of, your sense of time, maybe that's why.
I'll have to work on that. Well, how should we wrap this up?
I don't know. How do we normally wrap it up? Oh, I gotta go. My pot pie's on the oven.
Yeah, you do. You need to go eat dinner.
I do. Well, that was really lovely, Jennifer.
Thank you. It was fun to talk with you, too. We'll have to do this again sometime.
Say goodbye when I can see your face.
I know, we don't talk on video.
I know. That's hard. Mwah. I love you.
I love you, too.
Have an amazing week.
You too. Talk to you next week.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.